Hey everybody, it's Taylor with Boydston Grove, and today we're going to show you how to make this unique kitchen utensil holder. Let's get into it. Before we get started on today's project, I have a little announcement to make. This week marks our 1-year anniversary since we started our YouTube channel. Yeah! We are so excited for this milestone for this channel. It just has been such a fun year. To all of you that joined in the beginning and have stuck it out with us, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel, well, hold on tight, because this year we have so many huge, exciting things planned and so many projects that we are really excited to share with you. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for making this journey with us. Now, onto our project. For this project, yes, once again, I'm going to be using scrap materials. It's actually some leftover pieces from a table that we tore apart that was not salvageable. So there are a lot of dowel holes and screw holes. Hopefully we can be able to assemble this with these without any of that interfering. I'm going to be making this container in an octagon shape. To do that, I'm setting my table saw blade to 22.5 degrees. Painter's tape will be plenty strong enough to hold the pieces in place. Once the glue was dry, I traced the bottom onto a piece of wood and cut it out and glued it in place. Alright, now that we have most of our basic assembly finished, I'm going to use the table saw to cut some extra angles on this just to give it a little bit more dimension and make it a little bit more interesting looking. I set my table saw blade to 10 degrees to cut the angles on this container. Alright, so we got all our angles cut on our container, but unfortunately I did run into a spot where there was a dowel from the old table that I pulled this wood from, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to fill that. I also was thinking that I want some extra angles on this, like double up, like cut all these corners off each side, and in order to do that I'm going to be using this jig that I made for the table saw. That way it will sit on the table saw fence and will hold the container at an angle so that I can cut those extra corners. If you want to see the full build on this jig in detail, it is on the video for our octagon planters. My table saw blade wasn't tall enough to make the cuts all the way up the container, so after making the cuts as far as I could on both ends, I used a chisel to remove what was left in the center. I used a 2-part wood epoxy to fill all the old dowel holes that were revealed when I made all the angle cuts. This stuff is great because it dries rock hard, but it is also sandable and stainable. Once the epoxy was dry, I gave the container a final sanding before moving on to stain and polyurethane. our kitchen utensil container is finished. I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I'm really glad that I went with a colored stain because it helps conceal the spots that I patched a little bit better. You can still see them a little bit, but it looks more like a blemish in the wood than an actual hole was there. Because even though that putty is pretty close to the color of the wood, it's still distinguishable if you just leave it natural. So I'm glad I went with a colored stain with this. I'm also glad that I cut those extra angles. It just gives a little bit more dimension, a little bit more depth. It makes it more interesting to look at and have on the counter. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it. If you want to see all our other projects, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And we would love to hear in the comments below what you thought of this project. Thank you very much for watching. Be safe and have a great day.